Good morning. It's the 19th of October. It's been a while since I did a video. Been very busy. Particularly started coming on to RT, English edition, on the newscast as a military expert. And the news cycle's been busy, busier than ever. So actually, it's becomes very difficult to keep up with all the things that are happening. But we try. It's part of the job. So try hard. The brain bursts. Today, first I'm going to cover shortly. Going to cover the strike on the hospital. Again, conclusively, nobody can say what kind of missile or what hit until you start picking up fragments and looking see if you can find serial numbers or any other markings or the types of shrapnel that came off of it. But from the sounds, as I said on RT yesterday, from the sounds of the strike, each missile, each bomb makes very specific sounds. That sounded just like a JDAM. JDAMs are gravity bombs, old gravity bombs, which a gravity bomb means is just a plane picks it up, flies it over target, drops it, and gravity pulls it down. Gravity bomb. So it started with the U.S., Russia has them too. You take a gold gravity bomb, you change the tail section so it has controllable fins on it. It has glider wings on it that extend out after the bomb has been dropped, and it's ran by a navigation system. So you can bring it on target. So a fighter bomber picks it up, lifts it up to 3,000 meters, releases, and it can glide about 80 kilometers on target, and it's very accurate. There you range in size between 250 to 1,500 kilograms. So you could have a JDAM up to 1.5 tons. And that's a big, big bomb. We use them on the front to take out very, very entrenched, prepared concrete positions. Хорошая собачка, правильно. There you go, I'm walking the dog. Anyways, we use them to take out big, thick bunkers. And they'll just leave, they'll just take everything out. The sound they make, they're like American JDAMs. They make a very, very specific sound, howling sound as they last second and a half or so before they hit. The other thing is there's no plume, exhaust plume, because it's a gravity bomb. It's gliding in. So unlike a missile, where you'll see a plume after the missile, right up including the strike, there is no plume. Cameras basically pick up last second for 1.5 seconds of something streaking by and that specific sound that it makes. That's it. And then the explosion, of course. And that's a sound that was heard from people taking videos from their balconies as the missiles are flying in every direction with that strike. There was that very, very specific JDAM sound. And you can download videos of Americans testing JDAMs, and they've got the exact same sound. So, again, very, very specific sound that it makes. Can't fake it. So, and they kept asking me, too, on RT, what kind of missile was it? It's not a missile. It's a gravity bomb, gliding with a glider attachment. So yeah, you can't tell. That's the only evidence sound is, in this case of the strike is the sound. Anything else, you have to start picking up fragments. Depending how it explodes on contact or whether it's set up to be a penetrator, what kind of crater it creates, if any, particular crater. That it hit their cars there, that just added to the explosion because of the gasoline, petro in their tanks. Just added to the explosive power. So, it's sometimes hard to videotape and walk the dog. He's a big dog. So, trying to do two things at once. But, you do what you can at the time you can. So yeah, at present, unless evidence shows otherwise, it was Israelis that did it. That's not going to earn me any friends on that side, but I got to say what I got to say. That's my personal opinion. And that should have been a friggin' point where you go, we fucked up, navigation went wrong, we hit the wrong target, we're going to stop bombing, let's negotiate, let's discuss how we can avoid this and get guys. That should have been one of those inflection points. But instead, it's doubling down on stupid. Because at this point, the Israelis are creating, even out of neutral or friendly Arab countries, they're creating enemies. And they're going to have a big fight on their hands, for survival. And it's their fault and the fault of their American owners, who will throw the Israelis under the bus for the big war, just like they'll throw the Ukrainians or anyone else under the bus. And until the Israeli people figure this out, Netanyahu, he doesn't give a damn in the end. His number one goal is to stay in power. I mean, let's just face that reality, just like Biden and the rest of these clowns, psychopathic clowns. Okay, so on Ukraine. For the most part, the great Ukrainian offensive has ground to shit. It conquered about 120 square kilometers in the south and lost 300 in the north, and somewhere around 80,000 dead from the Ukrainian side. So basically, the third Ukrainian army created has been destroyed, or whittled down to a point where it's not combat capable. They're still trying, because especially right now, with Israel hogging up all the news and all the headlines and the weapon shipments, Zelensky knows he's got to get in there. He's got to get in there somehow, and he's got to be relevant, right? It's not enough to send virtue signaling toward Israel, which they did a lot of, and watch 2,000 Israeli instructors board planes and fly the hell back to Israel. So yeah, there's more questions toward our friend Israel that Russia has been trying very hard to be friends with, even though Israel has committed all kinds of crap, starting from arming the Georgians in 2008 when they started their attack under Saakashvili by American orders onto South Ossetia, to using civilian planes as camouflage while making strikes in Syria, to helping IGIL. And there's lots of video evidence of them letting IGIL through the borders, letting wounded IGIL fighters in. So yeah, there's a lot of questionable actions. And then under pressure, Netanyahu did send elements of Iron Dome, electronic warfare equipment. Now, supposedly that was all, but apparently about 2,000 instructors that are still alive. So how many died? And we know we've killed more than a few Israeli citizens along the way. So, yeah, more questions. And the worst part about all this is the opposition that Biden is trying to push through in that little slow-moving color revolution in Israel will be even worse, because the opposition that Biden wants in there, because Netanyahu was on the side of Trump, the opposition that Biden wants in is extremely anti-Russian. So, yeah, it's shit or much worse shit. That's the choice, which isn't much of a choice at all. But that's what's there. And it's my personal view that the goal of the masters in America, whether it's Biden knows this or not, or the collective Biden knows this or not, is to explode the Middle East into one hell of a firestorm, which is what those two American aircraft carriers are for. It's just for that. And Putin yesterday said, in response to two American aircraft carriers being in that area, which is a very close strike range to our Air Force base in Syria and our troops in Syria, Russia is starting to do constant patrols in the Black Sea with MiG-31s armed with Kinjal missiles. And the Kinjal missile will reach out at Mach 9, will reach out and touch those aircraft carriers. You know, that one touch, death touch. the Kung Fu Death Touch. Because that missile streaking in at Mach 9. Okay, so that's about 10,000 kilometers an hour. Okay? So within 10 minutes of firing from the Black Sea, even less actually, depending on where in the Black Sea, less than 10 minutes of firing, that missile will go over Turkey, down toward Israel, and sink an American aircraft carrier. If the Americans decide to start strikes on Syria, or Syria and the Russian forces in Syria, there'll be 2 dead American aircraft carriers and whatever other ships around it, cruisers, destroyers, so on, escort ships. Yeah. So that'll be the Gerald Ford going down, the big one, if that happens. So I'm hoping that there's that Charlie Brown, head of Joint Chiefs of Staff, has got enough brain power in his head, while kissing politicians' arses and pushing wokeism on the U.S. military. He still has enough brain power left that he's going to know that shit's going to hit hard if he obeys any orders from these idiots and actually starts something with Russia. We'll see. I'm somewhat doubtful, because wokeism is much more important than having brain power. They're pushing wokeism. But we move on. So, Ukrainians have started a mini offensive, or attempts at mini offensive, in Kherson area. So they threw some groups of infantry across the Dnieper River. They've been holding a bridgehead by this bridge for a while in an area of dachas. So, dachas are basically country house, but country house, it's not what most Americans or English would think of a country house. And they're thinking, because for Yanks and Anglos in general, country house brings up images of these mansions that your aristocrats live in. A country house in Russia can be anything from a 1-room house to a 30-room house. Most of them are small houses that people build by out in the countryside, so they can leave the city for a weekend, grow their gardens, and stay somewhere with fresh air. So there's all these neighborhood country houses that the Ukrainians have dug in, and they've taken heavy casualties because they constantly get artillery barraged on this bridgehead, and they haven't been able to move out of that bridgehead for 3 months now. So they threw some forces over on this railroad bridge, across this railroad bridge, and made a new bridgehead. Problem with the railroad bridge is it's so damaged it can't only take infantry crossing. So you can't really supply it. They can't get any vehicles in there with any heavy supplies. Any supplies you're bringing in on your back. Hard to hold a bridgehead that way and supply it. And that bridgehead, they started getting pushed back out yesterday. There's a counteroffensive, push them out. So this is a new Ukrainian offensive. They've got about 2 weeks before the rains really start hitting. Here in Moscow, we've had 3 weeks of rain. So the golden autumn went golden away, got stolen, and now we've got the lead autumn. October has been nothing but rain and temperatures around, for the last week and a half, temperatures really went down. We had a couple of night freezes around +4, +5 during the day, and rain. 3 weeks of rain. Christ, you're gonna hang yourself from all the gray. We needed rain. We didn't need this much rain. But down south, that weather fronts are coming. Rasputnica is going to be here soon. Down there, we don't have the mud here. We've got much harder ground. But the mud down there is going to start kicking in, and all that Western technology is going to sink right into that mud, just like it did last year, just like it did in 1941-42. Good thing Westerners don't particularly learn. They can continue making the same stupid mistakes. So, because that's what happened to Hitler. As soon as the rains hit, the tanks sank, and then when the ground froze, the Germans were literally digging holes underneath their tanks and lighting fires to try to melt the ground to get the tanks back out. So, yeah. You see an American Abrams or a Leopard in the ground, sunken in 80 tons of, almost 70 tons of tank, and they're trying to pull it out by lighting fires underneath it. Yeah, anything's possible these days. So that's the idiot version. Now for Clown World. Clown World. Well, those are interesting. First of all, Americans in the UN, and the UN rarely ever gets anything right because most of the UN is bought and paid for by the US dollar. But on the Human Rights Committee, the American ambassador started reading a lecture, and most of the present dignitaries stood up, turned their backs to him, and stood that way while he was finishing his speech, which is pretty poignant to tell you that, they don't like what you're saying, what you're doing, what you're about. Угомонись. Понял меня? So, they, Clown World number 2, in this case, was German Minister of Energy, who in Brussels stated that even when this war ends, Germany will never go back to Russian energy. That is, if Russia didn't even want to sell it to you. Never mind, none of Europe's ever going to get the sweetheart deals they had before on nothing. You're going to pay market value, period, or more. That is, even if it's going to be sold to you, because everything's now moving toward Asia and Southeast Asia, Latin America. So, Europe's screwed. And the longer this goes, the more permanent Europe's screwing is. But he said, yes, even after this war ends, we will never have ties with Russia again. Well, that depends. Who's going to be in power in Germany within the next year to 2 years? Obviously, it's not going to be Scholz or his command of wet sausages and geometry challenged morons like Baerback and all the Baerback. I prefer to call her Bareback because the screwing she's giving everybody or getting, it's got to be she would have made a great porn star. That's a proper name for her, Bareback. And I'm sure most of you understand what I'm saying. And her 360 degrees. Yeah, she had this little speech. If Putin changes his course by 360 degrees, things will be normal. Yeah. So let me get this. You got a 2 or a 3 in geometry? I'm inclining toward a 2. The woman's an idiot, but she's a green, and the greens have shown themselves to be the psychopathic authoritarians that everybody knew they would be the moment they had any real power. And warmongers to boot. So, welcome to what the greens really are. And everybody warned people about that. This is what the greens are really. Nobody wanted to listen. So, okay. So now you got the view of the greens in power in Germany. It won't be any different than the greens in power anywhere else. So, yeah. Germany, of course, right now is trying very, very hard, the German government, to ban the number 2 party in Germany. That would be the Alternative Future for Germany party, which is a conservative party. That's anti-NATO, anti-EU. So, of course, they've been labeled Nazis by the Nazis, and so on. And the German government is now literally trying to find any kind of means to ban that party, period. So, the second most powerful party in Germany. That's democracy, baby. That's democracy. You can't beat them, ban them. Well, Germany's going to have a change of government in one of 2 ways. It's either A, going to have a change of government by election, or B, is going to have a change of government by the sword. And I'm more inclined by revolution at this point, because the socialists, the liberals, the Greens, they've shown themselves to be full authoritarians, and authoritarians absolutely do not give a damn about the well-being of the average German. Those kinds of governments, only by terror can they retain power, because they will lose power. You can be any form of government as long as you take care of your people. You can be a dictator, you're a monarch, quote, democracy, which never really existed, anything. But you take care of your people and your people will support you. You you don't give two shits about the well-being of your people, no matter how benevolent you think you are, you're going to fall, and you should fall. Absolutely should fall. I think Germany is going to go down in a revolution sooner than later, because winter's about to kick in, baby, and prices are skyrocketing up again. Сейчас пойдем, сейчас. And things aren't going to get easier. So, okay, so that's Clown World 2, and that's my video for today. God bless.